It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back. You're tuned into a Feel Good Breakfast Show, Expresso right here on SABC3. So good to be hanging out with you. Thank you very much for tuning in. Now, time for some relationship chats. Yes. Now, we just celebrated, of course, Valentine's Day this past Thursday. And all the declarations of love and gifts and trips and dinners and surprises may have made you fall right back in love with your partner. But if you have been together for a while, sometimes these one-off occasions are not enough to remind you why you have made a commitment to this particular person.
Exactly. So today we're asking the question, do you feel like your relationship's spark has died, has fizzled out? And then how do you reignite and ensure that you stay happy with each other for so much longer? Our relationship expert, Dr. Eve, is in the building to help us discuss this hot topic, and our lines are officially open. You can give us a call on 021-430-9881 with your questions, your comments, and we would love to engage with you. Of course, you can remain anonymous, but this is a safe space for us to just talk about things that you usually wouldn't be able to talk about with none other than our beloved Dr. Eve. Good morning.
Hello, Dr. Eve.
I haven't
I haven't spoken about relationships for ages, but we're here now.
We're here now. We're
So
together.
exciting. All right.
United.
So reigniting, yes, Dr.
Yes.
Eve. We hear that reigniting the spark. I think couples in a long relationship, all turn towards that. Can we? Is it possible? For the sake of today's argument, let's start right up. Is it possible to reignite that spark?
Can we start with the word spark, Ewan?
Spark, yes. Let's start with
Well,
spark.
I mean, what does spark even bring up? It's like, woo, right?
Yeah.
It's like-
there's that feeling. Yeah.
Right,
there's
right,
that-
Kat. You and Kat went straight into the gut last
Yeah.
week as well. It's that feeling. Spark means that there is this excitement that goes on. But you know what happens to spark?
Fizzles.
Fizzles,
Fizzles
burns
and
out
dies.
quickly. So what
Yeah.
we want...
It's sad. It's like the sparkles we put on the cakes in the mornings. You see it, and then what?
And then how do we feel?
Yeah.
Enormous disappointment.
Yeah.
And then we just feel angry and we feel sad. And what do? We just cheat.
Yeah.
Because we want that spark
excitement,
back again outside the relationship. So we're looking today at how do we actually keep something, and I don't like the word spark because you can hear. I like a slow burn instead of like a fizzle.
Yeah.
How do we maintain a relationship where we feel happy and satisfied and it feels alive? So we want to be able to invest into ourselves primarily. That's kind of the number one, that's the bottom line of what I want to teach people today, is that the only way to have an interesting relationship is to be an interesting person. Otherwise, it gets dull, it gets boring, and we then say, okay, I'm done, I'm out of here. I also want us to really consider what we expect from relationships today, because I think we've set the bar way too high, and I like high bars, but we're not investing sufficiently to maintain that high bar. So we say, okay, I want this person to be my lover, my provider, my companion, my friend, my mentor, my co-parent. I want them to be everything. But actually, am I spending a lot of time investing in this relationship and investing in myself so that I remain somebody who will spark the interest of my partner all the time? And the answer is, I don't know, you phone up and tell us, are you investing to maintain a relationship that is an interesting relationship that maintains your attention all the time?
I love that. Well, our lines are officially open. It all is about investment. But what I want to know is what contributes to that feeling of the spark fizzling out and dying? And do you feel like your relationship spark has died? How do you reignite it and ensure that you stay happy with each other? Our lines are open, so please do give us a call. 021-430-9881 is the number to dial.
Fizzling and sizzling relationship taking place on Valentine's Day, hey?
I love it. I love it.
Yes, but it is now Monday, and we are talking about relationships once again. And today, our relationship expert, Dr. Eve, is in the hot seat to help us discuss how to reignite that relationship spark if it feels like it has fizzled out. Now, our lines are open, so do call us with your question or comments. 021-430-9881. Like Leanne said earlier, you can remain anonymous, and we really want to engage with you. This is a safe space. Dr. Eve, again, welcome. Nice to have you.
Dr. Eve, what are those things that contribute to the feeling of that spark fizzling.
Yeah.
And if you are in that position where right now you're like, I don't necessarily feel like we have that anymore, how does one get it back?
I don't think you can ever, I know you can't ever get that initial spark back. And that's why I said at the beginning, Leanne, that one shouldn't strive towards that.
Yeah.
That's never going to happen. And then you live in a constant state of disappointment.
Yeah.
You know, it's like when people go on Tinder or on Grindr dates and you want to feel that spark. And what I always say to him is just linger a little longer, do a few dates with this person so that you actually find that there are things that I have in common. So what happens in relationships, why they lose that thing called spark, is that we spend time in relationship maintenance, the domesticity of relationship, the things that we have to do, caring for children, making sure that the dishwasher is unpacked, and just the basic things of money management, the things that are quite drudgy. Instead of focusing on relationship development, that would keep things feeling alive and exciting, and I would want to be there, because not only are you developing as an individual person, but you're also developing relationship goals.
Yeah. Let's quickly take a quick call. We have a caller on the line. Anonymous, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. What's your question or comment for Dr. Eve this morning?
My comment is that you don't really need money or fancy things to keep the spark alive. You need to do little things for your husband, like carrying something or assisting him, or just making him a simple meal, or courting one another. That is what I do, and I'm married for 36 years, and there hasn't been one day that there hasn't been any spark.
Whoa!
The
That's
sparks
amazing.
fly all the time. My husband and myself, we believe that we should spoil one another, even though if there's no money.
Yeah.
There's little things there that you can do for each other.
I love that.
100%.
That's beautiful.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you
It
so
brings me back to
much.
something that you said earlier,
Yeah.
Dr. Eve. You should strive towards that slow burn.
Exactly.
You know,
exactly.
in your relationship.
And you know, I mean, what the anonymous caller says is so true, you. And we think that if we give or make grand gestures of like we're going to, here is a big present, or we're going to have one holiday. But what happens in those
between,
gestures,
yeah,
and
as well.
also in those gestures, is there a maintaining of the spark? I don't think so, because you get the gift and it's like, oh, this is fun, and then it's gone. It doesn't bring intimacy. And what she's saying is that every day, affection, acknowledgement, appreciation.
Yeah.
So one way to maintain this thing called spark is through honesty. This is what the research shows. If we're actually raw and honest with somebody and let them know, this is what my needs are, then we're able to tune in and make sure that this person feels seen and heard. And that makes us feel intimate. And when you feel intimate with somebody, you want to spark together, as in being sexual together. And the more you are sexual together, the more intimate you can feel. And the more you're going to feel that we have a relationship that is really thriving. So sexuality is a big part of our relationships as well.
When we come back, I want to ask another
Yes.
question. If you feel that the spark in your relationship has fizzled out, one, do you approach your partner and ask, or two, do you just start acting it from your own and try and rectify it from your own side? I mean, how do you
I love
approach that?
I
Exactly.
love
We'll
that.
chat about that. 021 430 9881. That's our phone line. Our lines are open. Please call us if you want to partake in this conversation with Dr. Eve. It is a safe space. Like you heard, you can remain anonymous. We'll continue that conversation after the break.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back to Feel Good Breakfast Show. It's Expresso right here on SABC3. We're chatting relationships as we do every single Monday, and we're talking about that spark. Is that spark still in your relationship, in your feelings, or has it fizzled out? You can give us a call, 021 430 9881. Before we left for the break, we asked about whether or not you feel like that spark has left the relationship. How do you broach that subject with a partner that you feel it's just not there with anymore?
It's a tough one because you think you can't go like, baby, I'm sorry to say, but I feel like after 10 years together, our spark has died. So what now? You know, I don't think you can do that.
I agree with
It's
you,
a
and
very
I think
normal
one-
situation. Hey?
Yeah. Again, we come back to what you're expecting from the spark. But I think really what people mean by that is the intimacy has died. I feel disconnected from you. and I feel like I want more, because I always like to work on the positivity. So I would say, I'm really wanting more from you. I'm really wanting more intimacy. I'm wanting more sexual activity. I'm wanting more challenge with you.
Yeah. Here's something that I hear a lot.
Yeah.
When people become, they're now offended that the spark is gone, and
Yeah.
you usually get things like, you don't do this anymore.
Exactly,
You don't do
Leanne.
that
The
anymore.
criticism.
You
Negative.
don't
Yeah.
take me out like you used to. You don't
Exactly.
bring me flowers. It's like, you
you-
don't.
There you go.
don't.
Instead of taking responsibility.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't go to a person and say the spark is gone. I would say, this is what I'm needing. This is where I feel neglected. These are things I really enjoy that you give me. And these are things I want to do. So one of the things that we know add this thing called spark is adventures, when couples challenge themselves together. So travel is like a really good example around that, because you have to kind of cling on to each other. You're in a foreign place, you don't know anybody else, and you're forced to communicate, which is what couples are not doing. They communicate about, as I said, the daily maintenance of a relationship. But here you really are challenged. And if you hear people, they say they feel sparky, meaning they're much more sexual and interested in each other when they travel. Or they go away for a weekend, which is why people plan to do that. You can't do that every day. We can't afford to go and do that even once a year. Some people can't afford that. So every day, how do we bring in that sense of what challenge are we going to plan for ourselves?
But that's great in a situation where two people identify that it is gone.
Yeah.
What if you feel like your partner is going to be offended by the fact that you say we are no longer the way we used to be? Or that they're so comfortable in this new normal when you're trying to bring it back? What do?
Well, first of all, you're not going to bring it back. You want to elevate it to
You
a
want to
different
elevate it to a
level.
different place, but you just want something again.
Yeah, you want to, but there's the important thing, and I saw what you're doing. You want to feel something again, and you look into the relationship to feel something again. I come back to my point is that you have to make sure, each one of us, that we find passion in our own worlds. So we come back, and then we become interesting and attractive to the other person, because we're investing in ourselves first. Otherwise, you just become familiar, you stop seeing each other, you stop looking at each other, you go into this place instead of, I'm excited, I'm taking on a new challenge in myself. So I find you attractive, which means that, let me just tell you, and to tell our viewers, something really simple to do. I do it a lot with my couples, is to play a game, to do a quiz, is to make a time where you sit with each other, it could be a date night, whatever it is, and ask each other some questions. Check in with each other, like, what is your favorite color? What's the flower you like the most? Who's your best friend now? What music are you listening to? What are you reading? What politics are you interested in? What do you fear? What are you dreaming about? What are things that you really long for? Sit down and ask basic questions, and you will find that suddenly, first of all, you're looking at each other, you're eye-gazing, and there's an interest that you didn't know about the other person. You didn't know about them. And that makes you feel closer, and therefore you want to be sexual. It feels kind of hot to be doing that.
Sure. There's a lot to think about, and there's all, obviously it comes through as to it's the way that you approach this fizzled out spark that's very, very important, because you want to keep it a positive space. You don't want to keep it a negative space. Like, you know what, you used to do this, but now you don't. Why? You know, so it's difficult. But interesting, you put a poll up just quickly on Twitter before we go. You have date nights. You said there, how can you put the spark back into your relationship? Do you join? And then we have date nights. So 38%. That's a big one. People tend to think date nights. You're not a big fan of a date night.
No.
Works next one. Frequent sex. 29%. That's another big one as well.
And I put infidelity on as well. How many did that get you?
13%.
13%.
And interesting, making
Keep myself
yourself interesting is
19%.
Right. So people are still looking to the relationship to bring them spark. You've got to take responsibility, and you don't solve it by infidelity. You just simply don't solve it that way.
Cool. We've got one more session with the doc coming up after this. Do not move any muscle. 021 430 9881. Wow, how interesting is that poll, hey?
Yeah, I love it.
38% saying that date night is still the thing that brings that spark back into the relationship. Like you said, not necessarily bring it back, but just elevates it to a new place. But let's be honest, how often does date night happen?
Yeah,
especially when there's kids involved.
You know what, I think it's a longing for a couple just to have some time alone from the daily maintenance of their relationship. But what do you do when you're in that space? What do? You know, you're talking about the children, or else because you're not being absolutely honest.
And here's the thing, date night is usually going to the movies, so you're surrounded by other people, going to a restaurant, so you're surrounded by other people. How much communication and connection actually happens in date
Or what
night.
kind of communication happens in that space?
Yeah.
It becomes a place just to complain and to criticize and to talk about the children and to try and resolve arguments. So date nights can be really productive if you spend it in a positive way, acknowledging and appreciating the things that one has done during the week or during the month. And really, it's nice to take notes around that so that you sit down with the positivity and say, I really like that. I know this was difficult for you this week. Just to bring that in. And then always add in an aspiration, a dream, a vision. What are we working towards as a couple? What are we planning towards? Because we want to keep a little bit of excitement going for future goals as well.
We've got another caller on the line. Anonymous from Cape Town. Good morning. How are you? What is your question or comment for Dr. Eve?
Good morning. How are you?
Very good,
Good,
thank you. Go for
Hi.
it.
All right. I'm calling to find out now if the, like you said, we need to ask each other's questions.
Yeah.
And then, but now when you ask questions and the person becomes like it's closed up inside, he doesn't want to respond to your questions. And the other thing is when you got some stuff that she hides, and then you try to figure out what is there that you can do to help it, and then she just shut you down.
Sure.
So it sounds as if your partner has gone into exactly what you're saying, is shut down. And then it's very difficult for you to try and get into the space with her. Is this shutdown something that has happened recently, or was she always kind of quite a guarded person?
Yeah, for sure. It's something that's happened recently.
Recently. So you know that something is going on and you alert to it. So right, so I would just talk to this person and say, I'm very aware, I'm noticing that you've shut down. Tell me what's going on. Don't try and ask questions. The minute somebody asks questions, you become more and more defensive and you get your back up against the wall and you become more shut down. So you notice something is worrying her. Say to her, I notice something is worrying you. It doesn't mean it's about you. It could be about a secret, as you said, that she's not sure. Secrets are a big thing in relationships, and because we're not honest, we lose the spark.
Yeah.
So you want to find out why it is. Maybe she fears that you'll judge her, or that you will reject her, or disrespect her if she shares something with you. But all that she's doing is pushing you further away, where maybe all she wants is for you to hold her tighter, hold her tighter. So say that to her, I noticed. Let her know that you notice, without criticism or judgment, with empathy. I notice that you are shut down. I notice that I can't reach you. I notice you're concerned. And maybe she'll respond better to that.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Okay.
I hope that helps, man. I hope that helps. It really becomes apparent, you know, how important the way you talk to your partner about these things. Because I think people lose track. People are very much kind of focused on their own lives and this and that, and it's me. And the way you talk to your partner is not conducive to bringing about any change.
But you know what, Ewan? I mean, I agree with you completely.
Yeah.
What people need to be aware of is that before the shutdown happens, other stuff happens.
Yeah.
And because we're too busy, we don't notice that there is criticism or there is contempt, which we call it's John Gottman calls the 5 horsemen that creep into the relationship. There is criticism, there is contempt, there's defensiveness, and then there is a shutdown. The person just completely shut down. So there are a few stages to be aware of before you hit that wall where it just is absolutely, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
So be aware of what's going on.
Yeah.
Try and be honest in your communication, because in that way there is intimacy. When there's intimacy, there's more sexuality. When there's more sexuality, feels as if I actually have a relationship that's thriving.
Yeah, that's powerful.
And
We
then there's
all
a
want
spark.
relationships.
Then there's a spark.
that-
You can have your spark then.
Oh, thank you so much, Dr. Eve. This was
Thank
a really
you.
good chat. We always feel like we need so much more time because relationships are never cut and dry, are they?
Oh, so complicated.
They're always so complicated,
They
but that's
are.
why we love them, and that's why we have Dr. Eve here to help us navigate through life and love easily. We'll be back with our relationship chat again next week, Monday, same time, same place.